They didn't just remove a photo, they erased an entire royal chapter. That is the chilling accusation exploding across palace circles after the shocking discovery inside Highgrove stunned royal watchers and sent Meghan Markle into what insiders describe as absolute fury, because this was never about interior decoration. It was never about rearranging furniture. And it definitely was never about a simple family disagreement. No. What happened inside King Charles III's private sanctuary on May 12, 2026 became something far darker, colder, and more symbolic than anyone expected. The moment royal photographer Chris Jackson unknowingly revealed that Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's iconic 2018 wedding portrait had vanished from its longtime position inside Highgrove, people immediately understood what this really meant. For nearly 8 years, that photograph sat quietly inside the king's residence like a surviving relic from a different era. The era when Harry and Meghan were supposed to modernize the monarchy, save the institution from irrelevance, and become the glamorous future of the crown. But now, gone. Completely erased. And in its place stood something far more deliberate. A smiling image of King Charles holding young Prince Louis. Not Harry, not Meghan, not Archie, not Lilibet. Prince Louis. The future, the bloodline, the safe choice, the loyal branch. The message landed like a royal execution carried out without a single public statement. And palace insiders say that silence was intentional, because the monarchy rarely fights in public. It doesn't scream, it doesn't post emotional interviews, it moves pictures, it changes seating arrangements, it removes portraits. And according to royal traditionalists, this may have been the most brutal symbolic move King Charles has made since taking the throne. The timing alone raised eyebrows. Harry and Meghan are reportedly facing enormous financial pressure in California while simultaneously battling growing public exhaustion with their brand. The Netflix magic is fading. Spotify already collapsed. Their public appearances generate headlines, yes, but not admiration anymore. Suspicion, fatigue, mockery. Suddenly, as the Sussex image weakens internationally, the king quietly removes them from the emotional center of royal life. Coincidence? Many inside palace circles no longer believe in coincidences. What makes this even more explosive is that Harry himself was not fully erased. According to reports, another photo inside the residence still shows Harry alongside William and Charles. That detail matters. It changes everything, because it suggests the king still recognizes Harry as blood, but not Meghan as part of the institution. That distinction is devastating, clinical, ruthless. Meghan allegedly sees this as a deeply personal humiliation and a calculated attempt to write her out of royal history entirely. Sources close to the Duchess reportedly claim she views the photo removal as psychological warfare disguised as decor. And honestly, from her perspective, maybe it is. Meanwhile, inside Montecito, the atmosphere reportedly resembles a pressure cooker seconds away from exploding. The dream they sold to the world, freedom, independence, billion-dollar influence Hollywood royalty, appears to be cracking apart in slow motion. Investigative reports now describe Harry and Meghan as living increasingly separate lives under the same roof. Not divorced, not officially separated, but emotionally disconnected, isolated, existing in parallel worlds inside a mansion that once symbolized victory over the palace. Harry reportedly spends much of his time alone, driving the children to school, walking the dogs, meeting old military friends who remember the prince before Oprah, before Spare, before California turned him into a permanent headline machine. People close to him allegedly say he looks exhausted, haunted, like someone who burned every bridge only to realize too late that the other side wasn't paradise. And while Harry retreats inward, Meghan appears to be fighting a completely different war, a commercial war, a survival war, because behind closed doors, Meghan is reportedly throwing herself into non-stop meetings, networking dinners, branding strategies, investor pitches, and desperate attempts to keep their empire alive. American Riviera Orchard, as ever. Endless rebranding, endless launches, endless promises. But insiders claim Hollywood's elite are quietly distancing themselves. The same celebrities who once embraced the Sussexes now appear strangely absent. Oprah silent. The Clooney's gone. The Obamas distant. It is as if the room suddenly emptied while Harry and Meghan were still talking. And then came the financial nightmare that truly rattled royal observers. The collapse surrounding Invictus sponsorships. Boeing, one of the biggest corporate names attached to the Invictus Games, reportedly chose not to renew its support for Birmingham 2027. That single decision sent shockwaves through both the veteran community and Sussex operations because Boeing wasn't just another sponsor. Boeing was credibility, stability, prestige. Once they walked away, others allegedly followed. Sponsor numbers reportedly plummeted from 44 corporate partners to only 11. Suddenly, Harry's safest public shield began cracking too. Critics became louder. Questions became sharper. Why were veterans allegedly paying their own expenses while luxury optics surrounded the Sussex brand? Why did the event require massive funding while local governments faced financial crises? Why did Harry's image increasingly feel less like a serviceman advocating for veterans and more like a celebrity trying to preserve relevance through emotional branding? These questions exploded online, and palace insiders reportedly watched the chaos unfold with quiet satisfaction. Because the monarchy understands something Harry and Meghan may have underestimated, public sympathy is not infinite. And perhaps the most painful detail of all, Harry's speaking fees reportedly collapsed from nearly $1 million per appearance to around $50,000. That number spread through media circles like wildfire because it symbolized something larger than money. It symbolized shrinking influence. The world once viewed Harry as the rebellious prince exposing royal secrets. Now many see repetition, complaints, exhaustion. The novelty faded, the mystique evaporated. And once royal mystique disappears, what remains? Just another celebrity fighting for attention in an overcrowded market. The deeper this story goes, the darker it becomes. Because behind the polished royal headlines and California glamour sits a brutal truth neither side can fully hide anymore. Both King Charles and the Sussexes are now fighting for survival, but only one side still controls the institution. And that imbalance is exactly why the removal of that wedding photograph became so devastating. It exposed who still possesses real power. Harry and Meghan may dominate social media discussions for a day, maybe even a week, but the monarchy controls legacy itself. It controls symbolism. It controls continuity. And most importantly, it controls memory. That is why insiders say the disappearance of the high-growth portrait was not emotional. It was strategic, a calculated repositioning of history itself. Because look carefully at the timing. As the Sussex brand continues weakening commercially, the palace suddenly appears more confident than it has in years. King Charles spent the early years of his reign appearing cautious, almost hesitant, constantly balancing public sympathy for Harry against institutional protection. But now, the gloves appear to be off. The king no longer looks like a father trying to heal a family dispute. He looks like a monarch stabilizing a threatened crown. And according to royal insiders, that shift terrified people close to Meghan more than any tabloid headline ever could. Why? Because once the monarchy emotionally detaches from you, reclaiming your place becomes nearly impossible. Meanwhile, inside Montecito, reports suggest the emotional atmosphere has become colder by the month. The sprawling mansion, once marketed as a sanctuary of freedom, now allegedly feels more like a luxury bunker, where two exhausted people are trying to preserve a collapsing narrative. Harry reportedly spends increasing amounts of time isolated from Hollywood circles altogether, retreating into routines that resemble quiet surrender rather than reinvention. School runs, private walks, occasional hotel stays near the estate just to escape pressure. Those details matter because they paint the picture of a man emotionally stranded between two identities. He is no longer fully royal, but he also never fully became the American mogul the Sussex Project promised. And Meghan? According to insiders, she refuses to stop fighting. If anything, she has become more relentless, more determined, more aggressive about protecting the Sussex brand because she reportedly understands something Harry may finally be realizing too late. Relevance in Hollywood expires fast, brutally fast. 1 year, you are the most talked about couple on earth. The next, investors stop returning calls. Executives move on to fresher faces. Audiences become numb to emotional revelations. That is allegedly why Meghan continues flooding herself with branding meetings, networking dinners, product launches, and endless strategic reinventions. She is trying to outrun public fatigue before it fully consumes them. But there is another layer to this crisis that palace insiders reportedly find almost poetic. The Sussexes originally left royal life claiming they wanted freedom from institutional control, freedom from hierarchy, freedom from duty. Yet now they appear more trapped than ever, trapped by mortgages, security costs, commercial expectations, public scrutiny, and a celebrity ecosystem that demands constant performance. The irony is brutal. Inside the monarchy, their roles were protected by history. Outside the monarchy, they became products competing in a marketplace that eventually devalues every product. And nowhere is that collapse more visible than the growing disaster surrounding Invictus. Because for years, Invictus was untouchable. It was Harry's moral shield. healed. Critics could attack interviews, memoirs, Netflix projects, and media deals, but Invictus represented wounded veterans in recovery. It gave Harry credibility beyond royal privilege. That is precisely why Boeing's reported exit sent such panic through royal and corporate circles. When even Harry's most respected project begins losing institutional confidence, the symbolism becomes catastrophic. Suddenly, the question is no longer whether the Sussex brand is struggling. The question becomes whether global corporations now see Harry himself as a reputational risk. The numbers alone reportedly horrified organizers. Sponsorships collapsing from 44 partners to 11 created financial panic around Birmingham 2027, especially as local funding pressures intensified. And once reports emerged suggesting veterans themselves sometimes struggled with participation expenses while luxury Sussex optics dominated headlines, the backlash exploded online. Critics accused the organization of becoming overly celebrity-centered. Veterans began openly questioning where money was going. Public patience thinned rapidly, and through all of it, the palace stayed silent, watching, waiting, letting the Sussexes fight public perception alone. That silence may actually be the monarchy's greatest weapon, because unlike celebrity culture, the royal institution understands endurance. It knows scandals fade, interviews age badly, books lose momentum, but symbols survive. That is why Prince Louis replacing Harry and Meghan's wedding portrait matters so much. It wasn't just about removing the past, it was about introducing the future. Louis represents continuity, innocence, stability, and William's bloodline. He represents a monarchy moving forward without emotional dependence on Harry's branch anymore. And for Meghan especially, insiders say that realization cut deeper than any public criticism ever could, because Meghan reportedly entered royal life believing she could modernize the monarchy and reshape it around a new global image. For a brief moment, it almost looked possible. Crowds adored them. Media coverage exploded. International fascination reached unbelievable levels. Harry and Meghan were supposed to become the monarchy's glamorous bridge into the future. But somewhere along the way, admiration transformed into confrontation. Partnership became warfare. Public sympathy became polarization. And now, according to royal commentators, both sides are living inside the wreckage of what could have been the Crown's greatest modern success story. What makes the situation even more haunting is how deeply personal this appears to have become for Harry himself. Because unlike Meghan, Harry was born into this system. Highgrove was not just a royal estate to him, it was part of his emotional memory, childhood, family, security. And now the symbolic center of that world has physically replaced his marriage with the next generation. Palace insiders reportedly believe that detail carries devastating psychological weight for the prince. Imagine seeing your wedding portrait erased from your father's home while another child becomes the visual centerpiece of the future. That is not merely decorative, that is dynastic messaging. Yet, perhaps the cruelest twist of all is that the monarchy never had to publicly destroy Harry and Meghan. According to royal strategists, the Sussex brand slowly damaged itself through overexposure. Too many interviews, too many revelations, too much emotional monetization. The mystery disappeared. And once royal mystery disappears, audiences begin viewing royalty like ordinary celebrity drama. The palace understood this from the beginning. Harry and Meghan may have won temporary media wars, but the monarchy kept possession of the deeper asset, institutional permanence. Now, as 2026 moves forward, insiders claim discussions surrounding titles, branding restrictions, and long-term royal positioning continue quietly behind palace walls. Nothing explosive is announced publicly, but many believe the real separation is already emotionally complete. The king reportedly still leaves room for Harry the son, but not for the Sussex brand as an independent rival court. That distinction explains everything happening now. The palace no longer seems interested in fighting Harry and Meghan directly. It appears focused on outlasting them.